Hey, welcome to What the Flick, our discussion of Fargo, the penultimate episode, a fox, a rabbit, and a cabbage. This was an outstanding episode.
Holy shit.
Yeah, this was good stuff. So last week on this program, I thought that when Martin Freeman sees Billy Bob Thornton in the casino bar, that everything about Billy Bob Thornton was different. Like, I mean, his manner, it was a different person. And I thought that maybe it was a different person. I suggested that. And
Haley Mills and Haley Mills.
Right, totally, that's right. And so I then thought, and then so the first, whatever it is, 15, 20 minutes of this episode, when he's the dentist and he's entertaining at the house and and I'm like, is it his brother? Is it just
So you thought 10 minutes into that scene that wasn't Malvo. But you could see the dead look in his eyes that he was playing a role, that he was humoring the guy.
I don't think you did see the dead look in his eyes.
I saw the dead look in his eyes.
And all I was thinking was, nailed it. I'm so right. I can't wait till we talk about it tomorrow and I show off. And then it turned out it was Malvo.
Against all odds.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, what a shocker. That's not how Fargo went, that it's his identical twin.
With amnesia.
Right.
Yeah, this isn't the 8th season of, Search for Tomorrow or whatever.
But it does, one of my problems with Malvo was that he's reckless, right? And it's, and only because he never encountered two dogged police officers at the same time, has he been able to get away. Like, if two good cops had bitten the other, they'd have caught him. But now at least we saw a sign of a degree of sophistication from him. Like, we knew it because we know that when he either killed or maimed the middman,
real estate agent guy,
that like he got there and he can make things happen. But still, it was I liked seeing there's an actual degree of criminal mastermind here, and not a guy who's just so ruthless that he overwhelms the competition and has gotten incredibly lucky.
Yeah, it's not just that he has the results; it's that the results actually flow from some planning and some expertise. So, like, we know that Malvo might be willing, theoretically, to do the 6 months of an assumed identity to get the money and get the kill.
As a dentist.
As a dentist, yeah.
Not just
learning dentistry.
Yeah, like actually knows how to manipulate a drill.
But I don't even think that's why he did it. I think he likes deceiving people for 6 months and screwing with them. Like, he gets so much joy out of listening to his tapes. He got to mess with people for 6 months, even if it ended tragically.
The one thing I didn't like about that was a little, I'm sure I'm missing it, and I'm often too literal in watching movies and TV shows. But on the tape, the voice on the tape says, I had a wife, I had a family, now they're all dead. And then at the end he says, tell my wife I love her. Like, that bothered me. I had to go back and listen to that.
I don't remember.
That didn't register. Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
So therefore I hated the show.
There was a line I meant to go back and listen to, but I didn't end up going back to. When he's first talking to his wife, does she say, I'm going to put my entire hand up your ass?
Thumb.
Oh, okay.
Thumb.
Okay, interesting.
Aces.
Aces.
She's a Hellcat, and they just shot her in the head.
She is a Hellcat.
Yeah.
I know, it's a shame to waste a Hellcat.
So why did the whole issue, the interesting part of the show is, why did Lester go into the elevator?
Because hubris.
Or go up to him at all, but especially go up to him.
Because old Lester was meek and mild and a coward, and new Lester hates old Lester, and new Lester knows that old Lester would have been, frankly, smart enough, but he would think weak enough to not confront Malvo in public. But, new Lester, by God, is salesman of the year, and he doesn't give a fuck, and he's going to go talk to Malvo and...
So
I don't think that's what it is, though.
No, I think it's definitely what it is. But
but you also thought it wasn't Malvo. I think that could be what it is, and there's certainly reason to believe that. I mean, he literally says, "No, you're changed. Well, I'm changed too." He says something to that effect. But there's no gain. Maybe to going up and seeing why he's in Las Vegas, fine. But to go in and when he says, "Is this what you want?" He just, yes, this is what I want. But what does he want? I think what it is he's being driven by some fundamental guilt over what happened, and I think he wants to go down. And he's willing to put himself in risky situations because he feels like he deserves to be punished.
Okay, see, I disagree with that, because if he wanted to go down, he could, he could have spilled what he knew to Molly in the hopes that the police could protect him from Malvo. He certainly wouldn't have sent his pure, innocent, completely blameless and everything wife to get killed by
She
Malvo.
covered for him, not totally
After-
blameless.
Okay,
no,
but still.
even more so.
But she didn't know what she was covering
I think
for.
at that point he was too scared now.
But but there's a couple of things, because I think it's a combination of these. I'm basically with you, but it seems to me it's not just hubris. It's like showing off. He wanted to show Malvo his dick. You know,
Sure,
look
yeah.
at me, look what I did.
And I'm on equal footing with you because
right.
we're co-conspirators.
You're one of the few people who can appreciate what I've done.
There you go.
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess. And he certainly feels like, look, he outwitted the cops and everything. Maybe he wants to talk about that with him. I suppose that could be it.
And then the yes or no answer comes down to, like, you know, your boy, the guy who you're showing off to, says, are you going to do it or not? And there's really only, in that situation, there's only one answer. No, he doesn't really want those people to die, but no is a meek answer.
Right.
He's in
No
the
is old Lester.
No is old Lester, right.
So why kill the 3 people? That I didn't really understand.
Because Lester's going to out him. Like
Yeah,
that's
the conversation was just going to get more and more into the
I guess
whole.
then kill him once he outs him. Like, I don't. It felt weird.
And why not kill Lester too? You know,
Right.
is the other thing.
Right, because and that's what it is. Because not only does he do Lester's bidding there, Malvo does, whereas opposed to he could have gotten out of that situation, one would imagine, and just killed Lester later.
Yeah.
Right, and solved the whole thing, and nobody would have heard from Lester again. He'd be, but he didn't, because there is some connection that he has that he feels to Lester. Like he likes.
True.
He also likes playing that game and being the guy who likes to orchestrate. He likes what he made Lester become.
So he has all those tapes of the people whose lives he's interfered with and messed with and everything. But for the most part, I think we're led to believe that most of them are dead. Like, this might be his first sort of protege, like almost like sort of a father-son figure. Maybe he wants to see.
Yeah, and of course, but we don't know that he was going to go after Lester. He was like, "This is on you. Now help me with these bodies."
Yeah,
like
that's
he
my
may
question.
well have said, "You want something to eat?"
Well,
Like
yeah, and if Lester stuck around and helped, then maybe he wouldn't
Right,
have
maybe he
become
wouldn't
a
have-
Instead,
target.
he ineffectually hit him lightly over the head.
with the salesman of the year.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Here's what I don't get: if Lester like immediately fled Vegas without telling anybody, and there's no video footage of the murder, how do the cops know that Lester is a witness?
I think they had footage of him getting in the
There's
elevator.
probably going to be footage of him getting in the
They
elevator.
mentioned
there-
something to that
okay,
effect in the show.
but then there's no footage of Malvo's face.
It's as
They
likely,
may.
I suppose.
They may,
okay.
and we may see Allison Tolman may see it and think, "Oh, that's the same guy." It looks
So, yeah,
different.
another blurry.
Right.
you know?
I don't
Looks
understand
different.
how they contacted her department. I don't know how that happened.
Well,
from Las Vegas.
somebody at the hotel, they recognized who that guy was. The sales.
knew where he was from at the
Well, they
hotel.
let
yeah, when you register in a hotel,
the
you
hotel,
usually have to-
sure,
You
that-
register your where you're from?
easily you could.
Or you have to leave a credit card.
driver's
you know.
license, credit card. That's not. The
That's
cops,
not impossible.
the cops with a name.
I don't travel much.
With a name, they could find out pretty quickly where they were from and make
Yeah.
that phone call.
I loved the showdown between
Totally.
Billy Bob Thornton and Keith Carradine. It reminded me of Robert Mitchum and Lillian Gish in The Night of the Hunter.
Oh, really?
I had that same thought.
Where they're just like, you finally, like the two people in the movie who are on the same footing, like facing off,
Right,
and
so-
neither's giving.
and Billy Bob probably recognizing, no, I can't. This is a person in town I can't quite push around.
Yeah, like what were you saying? This is not a postal clerk I can badger. And,
Exactly. Yeah, like what I was saying beforehand was that in these situations, like with Colin Hanks, he's willing to just be like, okay, I'm going to make it clear to you that if you don't assist me, terrible things are going to happen to you. And he got so close to that line with the father, but he wouldn't step over it. It was like every time he went to say something like that, the father like had this stern look on his face. And the father obviously was perceiving that something odd was happening, that he didn't trust this guy. I mean, he brings up that random, the other Fargo case. I wonder if Malvo had pushed a little bit. Like Malvo, I don't think at this point had a gun, but he had the knife that we saw him with earlier. Like I was very worried the father was going to die in that scene.
Yeah, and I do think though that Keith Carradine would have said something. Now the meeting was happening right then, but he did dismiss it if, you get all sorts or weirdos or whatever it is. And he knew enough that this guy was asking too many questions about Lester. It is Lester, presumably the father knows something
Right,
of
right,
Molly's
right.
concerns
And that may
about
come up in
Lester.
the next
And it
episode.
may
He
come
should
up,
bring it, yeah.
but it should come up that there was a strange dude who came in here and was asking about Lester.
I am always missing references to the movie because I haven't seen the movie since the movie came out.
Yeah.
Do we think that Keith Carradine was talking about that case, about...
The person I was watching with thinks that that's
he
what
would-
happened. But I
the-
thought he said
the-
like
the-
1979. I
He
thought
did say 1979.
Oh,
That's right.
okay.
It was. So
All right,
that's,
so it's not...
yeah.
Okay, never mind.
So it's
then.
not. It's not.
So,
that.
so he didn't find the guy in the wood chipper or anything.
Right. Also, I think if you were going to do that, they'd refer you the word wood chipper.
Wood chipper would
Yeah.
have to come up.
And,
yeah.
if he's talking about piling people up, if they've been through a wood chipper, you can't really pile them.
Not so much. It's more
Great
of
wood chipper.
it's more. It goes from a solid to a liquid at that point.
Exactly.
I think, yeah.
Anyway, are we missing anything else from this?
You know, the FBI
Key and
agent,
Peele,
Key and
yeah.
Peele, give us the title of the episode.
Right.
And finally vindicate Maud. But when Bill finally gets shut down
That was
on
nice.
his lengthy thing, and her only response is,
that was
okay, well, yeah.
one of my. So I'm so glad that we had this conversation because it was my favorite scene in the show. Just why it's a great show. Little moment of subtlety. So Key and Peele, who aren't they're far from the greatest cops
No.
in the world, but they're
One of them has a commendation, though.
but they're better than Bill, and he's
Yes.
right. The apologetic moment, and he's great police work. We got to stay the night, whatever. And then Bill and Molly are left there, right? And she has her hands in her pocket, I think, or at least on that. And she's like, and she jerks. Like she's like, she can't even figure out what to do with her hands. It's a really nice bit of acting. She's like, okay, I'll just. And crosses in front of him, and I don't know, it was so good. Just a really nice. I love that. So she, like now, I'm like, no, she's great. Like that's a great. I don't know whether that's a director's point or whatever, but she pulled off that, and that's got to be because she doesn't. She's such a good. She will not.
She's not going to be like, yeah, in your face.
She's not going to humiliate her boss.
Because that wouldn't help her. She's too
No,
smart.
of course.
But there's nothing. There's nothing to say at this point.
Yeah. I love how, like, the whole time, knowing that this is the last episode, before the last episode, like, they have to build up the stakes as much as possible before the resolution. And little lines like the daughter saying, I think I'd look good with a limp. I was like, she's gonna get shot in her leg or something. And like, hey, Dad, let's go fishing. And then Malvo goes in there. I'm like, he's not going fishing with her. He's not gonna make it. And so the only other really big scene we haven't talked about yet is obviously the Lester second half of the show.
Oh, right.
Like, he has the plan to flee and everything doesn't quite work.
So sending his wife, who not only was pure and innocent, but
played very like stupid. Like she was supposed to be kind of a child, I think.
But then she's not a child. She got a situation right then, which she didn't even follow up on. Of, you know what, my husband is in some trouble here with this.
I'm going to cover for him.
I'm going to cover for him. Like that's what partners do. Like she stood up for him, and it means nothing to Lester, and he gives her the coat and sends her in, and
Pull up the hood.
Yeah.
pull up the hood.
Was that a Don't Look Now reference, do we think? The red coat with the hood?
Oh,
Maybe I may be reading too much of that. But,
I liked it though, man. It was, but Lester, he.
and you the whole time was like, oh, you're not. Oh, you're not. Oh no, and then no, she's not. Oh, she is. And, oh God, that was.
So then the question for you two is, since both of your theories about why it is that he wanted to talk to Malvo, he sends in his wife. Is it cowardice or is it to trick and make Malvo feel stupid? I made you kill someone you didn't even want to kill. In that case, by the way, that means he's even more cold-blooded and heartless than we thought he was.
Can I say both?
Yeah, either way, he's cold. Either way, it's there's cowardice involved in that thing.
It's hard to root for him after that.
Yeah, that's pretty much. If there was ever an underdog quality about it, like that's.
And also, like Drew Peterson, even the cop in Illinois who may have killed 3 of his wives, even Bill is going to be like, oh, his other wife was now murdered. a year later, maybe we should investigate Lester. Yeah.
We need to investigate this drifter situation.
The drifters keep
Drifter
showing up.
situation is out of control in Bemidji. All right, good stuff. Next week, 90 minutes.
Really fast. Just one last thing. This is our last gap between episodes. If we're going to do any sort of predictions about how this thing is going to shake out, this is our last chance to do it.
We saw the disintegration of one family with a small child in the first episode. With Vern's murder, I don't think they will give us. I don't think they will bookend the murder, the disintegration of the only likable family in the first
Right.
episode and the only likable family in the 10th.
None of the three will die.
I think
three.
those three will all live.
Yeah.
I
True
guess it's,
Detective has conditioned me to think that it's going to be all right.
maybe Keith Carradine somehow, but I don't see how he puts himself in that situation. Yeah, I don't know.
Does Lester die or does Lester serve
I think
time?
Lester goes to jail, caught, and the old Lester comes out, emerges in his
I think he might
panic.
be happier in jail.
But Billy Bob Thornton seems like death is.
You know, the brother.
Mr.
the
Wrench
brother-
is still
I was
out
saying,
there.
Mr. Wrench. What about Mr. Wrench? He did not come up at all, except for Deaf Fella on the board.
Deaf fella's partner.
I think he will. My hunch is Mr. Wrench will not feel loyalty if he does return to Billy Bob Thornton for freeing him.
Right.
Is more likely still to
kill him.
seek vengeance. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
can
or
see
he won't
that.
come back at all.
Yeah, I don't like to predict. I just want to see what happens. So
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We'll leave it at that then.
Thanks, guys. Next week, 90 minutes, the finale of Fargo.